Morning, everyone. Jack here, founder of collegeconsulting.us. We have one mission at collegeconsulting.us, and that is to help the country's highest performing high school students achieve their highest collegiate potential so they don't end up senior spring looking back on their college planning journey saying, if only I had known. How could I have not gotten in anywhere? Our goal is to ensure the country's highest performing students reach their full potential. And in today's video, I want to talk about actually the foundations of that approach and how critical it is if you're a parent of a high schooler, helping your early stage high schooler, 8th, 9th, 10th, even 11th grade, work on college planning, how critical it is to actually help them grow from the roots. How to grow from the roots. And here's what I mean by that. The college coaching, college planning, college consulting industry is wrought with the following. Families go through high school, they reach late 11th grade, they say, oh wow, we're less than a year from applying to college. Let's find someone to help us with our college essays. Or let's find someone to help us with this whole college thing. Right? Maybe help with the Common App. Or let's help someone narrow down our school list. The problem with this approach is you're not dealing with the roots of the student. You're dealing with the very, very topmost portion, the flower, if you will. The part that, you think, oh yeah, that's all that really matters. But without the roots of the student, without a proper foundation, the flower has no way to grow. And so this is why we're starting to see year after year after year high school students who say, I hired that consultant and they helped me with my essays. Why didn't I get in anywhere? Or, I took advice from, a college coach who really looked over my Common App and made sure my activities section was great. Why didn't I get in anywhere? The problem was the approach wasn't foundational. The approach wasn't at the roots. And to really hit this home, I'm going to tell actually a personal story, and I'm going to give 3 concrete examples that you, as a parent of a high schooler, can help your high schooler today work on their roots, work on their foundations, help them grow as a student, and yes, as a byproduct. If they apply these 3 tips that I'll give today, they will drastically improve their college admissions chances without trying. Because that is the key. Growing students from the roots, foundations over multiple years, is what leads to outsized success. And is why for 15 plus years now, we've helped our students reach their highest potential. So let me tell a personal story. As many of you know who followed me along on this YouTube channel, my background in 2006, 7, 8, and 9 into 2010, I graduated from high school in 2010, I was a high-performing student. I wanted to reach my full collegiate potential. I didn't have a plan, but more importantly, I didn't have a plan when it came to how to navigate the high school classroom. I was a grind student. I just made up for not having a plan by saying, I'll work harder. I'll study later into the night. I'll just keep going. And so, as many of you know, I reached a point junior year, which, as you'll see in a second when I describe this, is not ideal. That is a late time to reach a point of, I need foundational habits. But again, this is just my story. I reached a point junior year that was, I would say, my breaking point. I was deep in sports seasons. I was deep in taking the SAT and ACT because I couldn't decide which one I wanted to take. That's a whole different time for a whole different video. I was taking all the hardest classes in my high school, AP classes, honors classes, whatever the highest was in each level. And I was completely burned out. I didn't have a proper plan. Honestly, my roots were not strong. And I was taking a Band-Aid approach of, I'll just work harder. And what's crazy is it actually worked for many years. For many years, I could grind out A's and grind out A's and grind out the occasional A-, grind out the occasional B+. But eventually, I just reached a point where it was unsustainable. And that led me, for those who have read my background, to the book that today has still changed my life the most, which is How to Become a Straight A Student by Cal Newport. Fast forward, yes, I actually got to meet up with Cal Newport in person. We had an amazing breakfast together. He's the best. But at the time, I was just a high schooler. I read his book, and that opened my mind to the notion of, wow, if I take one step back here, if I think about how I'm going to tackle my high school experience, my class selection, once I'm in those classes, how I'm going to tackle preparing for class, how I'm going to tackle sitting in the classroom and taking notes, how I'm going to tackle studying for tests. Oh, what's the teacher going to ask about on the quiz or on the test so I can optimize my studying for that? High school became easy. High school became fun. I had a plan. I worked the plan. Senior year, I got straight A's. And I probably worked half the time that I had been working in 9th, 10th, 11th grade, grinding for my A minuses. So it's funny. I'm actually getting married in September. Well, I actually just got married, but I'm celebrating with friends and family, etc. in September. And my high school physics teacher, my senior year physics teacher, is coming to my wedding. And we were texting, and our relationship really blossomed because I remember when he told me halfway through senior year that he just really hadn't seen any other high schooler with the systems and organization to tackle his class before, and how impressed he was by that. And that was really cool to hear. But what's funny is it didn't feel that hard. Once I actually had a system, once I had a plan of attack, I realized, oh, high school can be fun. High school can I use this word in an honors class or an AP class? Feel easy. I don't know, I'll have to ask him at the wedding. I think he had 2 sections of students, so it was probably 45, 50 students. I believe I did finish number 1 in terms of rank. And again, I'm telling you, it all stemmed from me reading Cal Newport's book and saying, instead of just diving into high school physics, honors physics, one of the harder classes in my high school, let me take a step back and spend a little bit of time thinking about how I'm going to dive in. That's it. That is the roots. That is working on the foundations of a student. I grew more between 11th and 12th grade than I had in any other high school year, and that really was over the course of just a couple months. My eyes were open. It was like I was putting on rose-colored glasses for the first time. I could see the power of working on my roots versus just working on the flower. But the flower could just be, one test after another grade after another paper, right? That's the flower. That's the stuff you see. What you don't see is the going to Staples, getting a proper notebook, getting proper color pens, because I had a system for if I got a problem wrong, I marked it red. If I got it right, I marked it green. Going through and saying, when am I done with studying? When am I done? I'll talk about that in a second here when I give my 3 examples. So, in our all-inclusive 4-year college confidence program, we preach that it is a 4-year program for a reason that allows us to work on the roots. As you can imagine, if we accepted seniors into our program, we don't have time to work on the roots. We don't have time to change students' lives by growing them as a person, by helping their roots flourish, by saying, here are the foundations, 9th grader, that you can now embrace. Giving them those Cal Newport level revelations that I experienced in 11th grade, giving them in 9th grade, and then watching them go for 4 years. Will actually flash up on the screen here some examples of students who've gone through some of our Grow the Roots modules, if you will. Again, in a second, I'm going to give you 3 examples that you can utilize today. Take back to your high schooler today. But we'll flash just a couple screenshots of students who've actually embraced this, who've gone through our Grow the Roots lessons. See what they say. It's life-changing. It can be life-changing for students who actually apply them. And here's the coolest thing, is a byproduct of growing the roots. You're going to get into colleges that you could not have dreamed of 2-3 years ago. Because colleges want to see a strong foundational student. They don't want to see a student whose profile is built on a house of sand. They don't want to see that grind student that doesn't have study systems, that doesn't have processes to follow, who is just staying up until 2 a.m., absent-mindedly doing problem after problem, not knowing when they're done. They want to see a student with strong roots. Key number 1, you've got to start early. Have to start early. Can't work on your roots if you start thinking about college in the back half of 11th grade or 12th grade. You just can't. The college coaching industry seems to be full of, hey, oh, you reached 12th grade fall? Yeah, we'll help you with your essay. That is a Band-Aid. Oh, you reached 12th grade fall? We'll help you with the activities section on your Common App. That is a Band-Aid. And by the way, I'm not saying that's wrong, but it's far less effective than a 4-year plan. Helping students at the start in 9th grade make their roots strong, their study habits strong, their processes strong, their confidence strong. Saying, now that you have all that foundation, go flourish. I don't know. That's what gets me excited when I wake up in the morning, is being able to watch a student's transition over 4 years. Not just, oh yeah, we helped you with your essay. There you go. That was a fun week. That's not what gets me excited. That's not what gets my team excited. So I know we're different. Okay, so you waited around. Thanks for watching for these 12 minutes. You want 3 actionable tips? Let's get into it. Value. 3 actionable tips. Tip number 1. Always have a plan when you're choosing your high school classes. Always. Yes, this means in 9th grade, in 10th grade, in 11th grade, in 12th grade, have a plan when you're choosing your classes. Now, just so you know, that plan will be less robust when you're at 9th grade. Why? Because 9th graders, you might not know what your ultimate end goal is. You might not know what you want to study exactly in college, and therefore your plan might be a little more vague. You might take those just normal 9th grade classes. But guess what? At least know that. Take the time to say, I'm in 9th grade. I don't quite know what I want to do. Therefore, I don't have a clear path. Therefore, I'm going to take some of the normal, general 9th grade classes that are offered. Great. You see how liberating that is? Instead of just saying, I wonder, is this right? I don't know. Have a plan. Know that that's your plan. Then comes 10th grade. Then comes 11th grade. By 11th grade, when you're choosing your 12th grade classes, ideally, you should start to be honing in and say, I think I want to focus on this area or this area in college. By the way, you can look at, I have different videos on this. Different is greater than difficult is all about allocating a project towards the eventual plan that you want to tell college that you're going to work on when you get to their college. So ideally, you have an area of focus. And yes, you should choose your high school classes based on that area of focus. Meaning, the amount of students that I see who come to us and are struggling through AB calculus, and they're like, I want to be a journalism major. Stop! That was a wrong choice when you chose your classes. And it might have simply stemmed from high schoolers don't realize that they have that choice, that they have that ability to say, you know what? I know I want to be a journalism major. I'm not going to take AB calculus. And by the way, this is for another video, but if you think that you have to have 4 years of a math in order to, get into an Ivy League school, you are mistaken. You don't have to. You don't have to at all. And I think that that's the important thing for students to realize is they are more in control of their plan, the story they tell than they think. Now, For some students, does 4 years of math help them get into an Ivy League school? Yes, of course. But it's all about working backwards from the story you want to tell admissions. And every year, we have students that do not take 4 years of math, that do not take 4 years of a language, and do get into the top schools in the country. But it's about working backwards from the story you want to tell. So, lesson number 1, have a plan when you are choosing high school classes. That plan will likely get narrower and narrower as your grades increase. 9th grade, you'll have a plan. It might be a little vague. 10th grade, you'll have a little bit stronger of a plan. You can start narrowing down. I really like this. I really like English and social studies. I don't like math and science, or vice versa. By 11th grade, you should start to really focus in on your plan. Hey, you know what? I'm not going to take that AP World Lit class because I know I want to go into computer science. And AP World Lit, I kind of struggle in those classes. I'm not going to put myself through that. Have a plan of attack. Number 2, the B+ rule. Never, ever take a class in high school for your 4 years that you don't think you can at least get a B+ in. Now, there are always asterisks to this. I'm doing a YouTube video for the public. I don't know your specific situation. Could you come to me with some very unusual situation where maybe, perhaps, if I were coaching you or one of my amazing team members were coaching you, they might say, yeah, you know what, given you told me X, Y, Z, and you think you're going to get a B, I still would take it, sure. But 95% of the time, nope. Anything below a B+. Anything below a B+. For most students who are watching this video, right? We work with the highest performing students in the country, so I have to tell you that off the bat. For the highest performing students in the country, anything below a B+ on a transcript will hurt your profile eventually for admissions. So don't subject yourself to that. If you think, as you're planning your high school classes, right? I've done this in order for a reason. Have a plan with your high school class selection. Then apply the B+ rule. Go look through your entire course selection and go class by class and say, can I get at least a B+ in this? If the answer is likely no. And by the way, if you're like, well, I'm not sure, you can think about it. You can know. You can also, if you really don't know the rigor of the class, you can ask older students. You can go walk into that teacher's office hours, knock on their door and say, hey, I'm considering your class next year. Can you show me the syllabus? There are ways. And it's amazing. We do this every year with our students, and it's amazing how many students are spot on and they know. And the amount of times I get that little look, or our team gets that little look and they say, I just really don't think I can get a B+. Great. Drop down a level, or potentially eliminate the class altogether and do something else. If you're going to supplement a class, then you have to know how to properly tell your story to college admissions. That's for another video. But either way, the B+ rule is critical. What this does is this solves a massive, massive hurdle that most students and parents across the country get, which is, you go to any top school's information session. Anyone. They'll say, we want our high school students, when they apply, to get the highest grades in the most rigorous classes. Thank you. Now, what does that mean for me, the high school student, as I'm choosing my classes? Everyone would love to get an A+ in BC Calculus. BC Calculus, likely known as the typical hardest class in most public high schools. Of course. But, when I think about Jack Delahy, senior year, I wasn't going to get an A in BC Calculus. So it's like, okay, at what level do I need to not take that class? I think we'd all agree that if I said, I think I can get an F, everyone would say, don't take that class. But where is the line? So we've, researched this a ton. We've looked at thousands of data points of our past students over the last decade. We've talked to admissions reps. We've talked to those who are in the college admissions world. We've talked to those who have actually looked at applications. We have several members on our team who have been in the application review rooms at the top schools in the country. And we've come up with our B+ rule. By the way, getting a B+ in a higher level class is deemed equivalent or about equivalent to getting an A in whatever class is lower. So it's really B+ is the minimum. But if you think I can scrape out a B+, you still might want to consider dropping down a level getting that A, and then focusing on other areas of your application. The B+ rule not only will help you improve your profile, it will save you, it will give you sanity, it will help you feel more confidence, because nobody likes to see C's. I'll never forget the 1C that I got in high school, still to this day. Junior year, pre-calculus, one of the hardest classes I've taken between all of high school and all of college. Absolutely brutal. And if I had known the B+ rule, I wouldn't have taken it, but hey, I wasn't the founder of collegeconsulting.us then. I was just a 16-year-old with no plan, just blindly going through. And I took pre-calc, and I struggled. By the way, yes, if you're wondering, it's very, very rare these days, right? I applied to Vanderbilt in 2010. It would be very rare to have any C on your transcript and be able to get into Vanderbilt these days. So just wanted to put that out there because I know some people might say, wait, Jack, you got a C and got into Vanderbilt. Yes, I had one. It was a C+. I'll never forget it. Now, I think I had a really good story around it. There's a chance, even today, that you could. But just have to put that out there. All right. We got one. We got two. All right, number 3, we are back. iPhone storage issues. Number 3 is to know when you are done studying. Know when you are done studying. No high schooler does this, by the way. No high schooler does this. No college kid really does this too. Here is why this is so powerful. When you actually have a plan of attack that says, I know the upcoming test is going to involve chapters 3, 4, and 5 of my, I'll use physics, textbook. And I know that my teacher has said that any of the homework problems or problems we went over in class are, quote, fair game for the test. Then all you need to do is be able to do every single one of the homework problems and every single one of the problems that you went over in class. Now, this may sound like a lot, but this was revelatory for me and has been for many, many, many of our students. It is revelatory for 2 reasons. One, it'll make you a way better student. You'll get straight A's. You'll do so in half the time. That's incredible. But 2, it is freeing mentally. Because instead of doing what I used to do in my early high school years, of just basically I would study at my desk late at night until 2 a.m. until complete exhaustion, at which point I'd say, well, I'm closing my book and going to bed for 5 hours. You actually have a signal that I am done studying. I am ready to ace this test. So what that entails is, first step, figuring out what's fair game on the test. And by the way, you high schoolers, if you're watching this, you can do this. You can figure out what's on the test. Go look at the syllabus. Go ask your teacher specifically. Very quickly, with a little bit of effort, you can figure out what's on the test. If you say, I can't figure out what's on the test, that's a far bigger issue that you need to solve immediately, because how are you supposed to study for a test, a midterm, a final, if you don't know what is fair game on it? So step number 1, figure out, however you need to, what is on the test. Then step number 2, spend the 10, 20, 30 minutes max creating a plan. This plan can be bullets in a notebook. This plan can be typed out on a Google Doc. But all that plan is you writing down every single thing you need to do so that you know everything that could be on the test. Now, I have a YouTube video, actually, how to get straight A's. You can go, we'll link to it here, and you can go through, as I go through how to get straight A's in math and science classes versus English and social studies. For the sake of this example, and because I've talked about physics a lot today, I'm going to use physics as my example because it parallels a lot of the kind of math science type questions. But my senior year in physics, I simply would follow Cal Newport's advice, and I said, I will have an endpoint to my studying for every single bit of preparation I did for every physics test. So again, the upcoming test is on chapters 3, 4, 5, every homework assignment, and then every problem we went over in class. So I would literally find every single homework assignment, every problem that was on every homework assignment, every class problem, and then I would write them in a notebook, meaning, okay, problems on pages 272 to 274, the odd numbers, those were assigned on homework. Those are the ones that could be on the test, right? Also, chapter 4, pages 313 to 316, questions 27 through 58, the even numbers. That was also assigned. And then, oh, by the way, the 7, 8, 9, 10 problems that we went over specifically in class that weren't in the textbook, but could be fair game for a similar question to get asked on the test. Write that down with a little checkbox next to it. And then I would go through every single question. Remember those colored pens that I brought up? Green, I would check mark if I went through the question and I got it right. And by the way, these ideally are the second time I'm going through these questions as test preparation, because the first time I did it for homework. Oh, I go through, first question, nailed it, got it right, green check mark. Second question, nailed it, got it right, green check mark. Third question, whoa, I got that answer wrong. Or I didn't get it wrong, I didn't even know how to get to an answer. Red X. Keep going. Green check mark, red X. Green check mark, red X. Now I have, this is several days before the test. I have a dozen, maybe 16, maybe 18, maybe 20 questions that I don't know how to answer. All the rest, green check marks, I'm good. I make sure I know how to answer those. That means going to the answer in the back of the book, looking at the explanation. That might mean going to office hours, like I did many times with my physics teacher, to say, question 17B on page 343. I just don't know how to answer. Can you help me? Oh yeah, sure, Jack. Let me walk you through it. Then I know how to answer it. Now I go back. That night, second night of studying, you can see how quickly you can whittle down. What was amazing about this is I had an end to studying. When I was 100% green check marks, it was done. And that is how, pretty quickly, pretty efficiently, in a pretty fun, stress-free manner, I just got straight A's in physics senior year, applying a third the amount of hours of work that I had just 1 year prior in all my classes, grinding away till 2 a.m. with no real plan, just waiting until I got so tired my eyes drooped. Have a plan. Know what it looks like, what it feels like objectively when you're done studying. That moment when I got 100% green check marks, closed my notebook, put my pen on my notebook, wiped my hands and said, I'm done. It's only 7 p.m. I'm done. I'm going to go hang out with my family. I'm going to go watch a sports game downstairs because I'm done studying. In today's YouTube video, I talked about the roots. I'm passionate and my team is passionate about helping high school students reach their full potential. And yes, at the end game, junior year into senior year, there's a lot of flower petals that we work on. We help students craft an amazing essay. They write it, we give advice, they go back, they revise it, we give more advice, they go back. We help students make sure that their activities section, their additional information section of their Common App is awesome, represents the best of who they are. We help students decide, do you want to take the SAT and then ACT, and help them come up with a study plan for them. These are all the flower petals. The roots are what we as a team deeply care about. We help students achieve their full potential because we work with them for, ideally, 4 years. We help them establish these foundational roots early and often. 1, picking classes, picking the right classes. 2, B+ rule. 3, knowing when you are done studying. And what's fun is to see the teenagers who join our program and the parents of them grow. Their smile increase. Because college planning doesn't have to be stressful. And in fact, when you focus on the roots, while it may seem harder in the early stages, in the long run, it's the most rewarding. And yes, as a byproduct of working on the roots, you'll get into your dream school. That's it for this video. If you enjoyed this, feel free to like, subscribe, put a comment if you like this, or if you hated it, let me know. I'll read every comment. If you want to work on the roots with your high schooler, you can book a 100% free college planning strategy session with my team, link below. And if you say, no, Jack, I don't really want to do that, take advantage of all of our free resources. You can click join our 100% free college confidence community, or just subscribe here. Stay tuned for the next video that we release. Till then, cheers.